Hey everyone, welcome back to Singapore Property Talk Law. I'm Damien, and
I'm Serene.
we're diving deep today into resale HDB financing.
Yeah, all the ins and outs.
Financing that sweet resale flat.
Absolutely. It's a big step.
It is a really big step, and so you found the place.
You found it.
I love it.
You're ready.
Now, how do we pay for it?
How do you pay for it? Well, the big decision right up front is HDB loan or bank loan.
Okay, so I think a lot of our listeners probably already have a pretty good idea about the difference, but just like quickly recap.
Yeah, for sure. So HDB loans, fixed interest rates.
Oh, the stability.
Which right now are at 2.6% per annum.
Okay, so that means same payment every month.
Your monthly payments are going to stay the same that whole time. And that can be really good for budgeting and just like peace of mind.
Predictability.
Yeah.
I mean, especially everything else is going up.
Things are a little bit crazy.
Like, why not have one thing that's the same every month?
Keep it stable.
But then there's bank loans.
Right. And with bank loans, you're going to have floating interest rates, which right now could potentially be lower. But they're tied to benchmarks like USRA, which means they can fluctuate.
They can go up.
They can go up.
Okay, so lower now maybe.
It's a gamble.
But later, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, that's a big decision.
A big decision.
Right there, right off the bat.
So is it just the interest rate or are there other things?
No, there's a few other things that are kind of the big hitters that you got to think about. So loan to value. LTV limit. So with an HDB loan right now, that limit is 75%.
75%.
So you can borrow up to 75% of the property's
valuation.
With a bank loan, it's 8. Okay, so that means
for an HDB loan, you're going to need
a bigger down payment. Yeah. Okay, so like if you're kind of like really stretching,
if you're right on the edge,
get into that resale flat, a bank loan might seem a little more appealing at first.
It might, because you need less upfront.
What about the
repayment flexibility?
Yeah.
That's the other big one.
Okay, tell me about that.
Okay, so HDB loans.
Yeah.
No lock-in period.
Oh.
You can prepay.
Wow.
Refinance anytime.
Anytime.
No penalties.
Okay, so that's
bank loans.
Huge.
Bank loans, they typically have lock-in periods.
Okay.
1 to 3 years. And if you try to refinance during that time, you're going to get hit with a penalty, usually around 1.5% of the outstanding loan amount.
Okay, so that's a big difference.
That's a big one, yeah.
Yeah. So if you think like, oh, maybe I'll get a windfall or, I might need to refinance for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That HDB loan looking pretty good.
It can be.
For that flexibility.
That flexibility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And especially now with HDB tightening up their loan limits.
Oh, yeah.
It's made that flexibility even more important,
Yeah, because they did lower it, right, from 80 to 75%.
Exactly.
So that means an even bigger down payment now.
More cash up front.
Yeah.
Which, for some buyers, that might be a deal breaker.
Yeah. What do you think do you think it's gonna like?
I think for a lot of people who are already kind of stretching their budget, it might mean they need to look at a smaller flat, maybe delay their purchase, But the idea behind it, I think, is to encourage people to be a little bit more financially prudent, not over-leveraging themselves.
Yeah.
So
it's like
it's a balancing act.
Affordability, but also like making sure people can actually
sustainable home ownership.
Exactly.
But even with that LTV reduction, there are grants out there.
Oh yeah.
That can help to offset some of that.
Okay. Yeah, tell me about the grants.
All right. So for first-timer families, you've got the CPF housing grants for resale flats, which can give you up to $80,000.
Wow.
And then there's the enhanced CPF housing grant, which is based on your income. And you can actually combine that with other grants.
Okay.
So that's a chunk of change.
Yeah. I mean, that could really
it can make a big difference.
Help make resale HDBs more accessible.
Absolutely.
Okay. But what about singles? Are there any grants?
There are.
Specifically for singles.
So if you're an eligible Singapore citizen, you can get the CPF housing grant for resale flats. Singles.
Okay.
It's not as much as for families. Right.
But it's still
something.
It's still something.
It's still money.
It's money.
So, yeah, okay. So families, singles.
Everyone's got options.
There's support out there.
There is.
Yeah, and like you got to factor that into your
absolutely.
financial planning.
If you're thinking about a resale flat, you have to include the grants.
Yeah, okay. So we talked HDB loans, bank loans, grants. Is that all? Is that everything you need?
Well, you've got to think about like the other costs too.
Oh, right.
Like your legal fees, stamp duties, agent fees.
That can add up.
It all adds up.
Yeah. And you know what? Speaking of that, we actually have a great YouTube video from Caleb C.
Oh, I love Caleb.
He does a really good job.
He's great.
Of breaking down all those costs.
Yeah.
And he really emphasizes budgeting for them because they can really impact how much you can actually afford.
Absolutely. You got to.
Yeah. Factor that in.
He also mentions like the timeline.
Oh, right.
Like if the seller's asking for an extension.
Yes, that's a big one.
Of stay.
Yeah.
That can really mess with your plans.
Yeah, because then you got to figure out where you're going to live in the meantime.
Yeah.
Could add to your expenses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of personal experiences, we also have this source from Lisa.
Oh, Lisa, yeah.
Adulting in Singapore.
I love her blog.
Yeah, and she talks about buying her resale HDB at 24.
Wow, that's young.
Yeah, and
brave.
It's really interesting. She talks about like the emotional side of it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just the finances.
It's a big emotional decision.
A huge life decision.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And she really talks about like being prepared for challenges.
Yeah.
She had to figure out her CPF.
Right.
And she took some risks.
Yeah, she really put herself out there.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that even though it's a resale HDB, it can still be like a roller coaster.
Definitely. You got to be ready for anything.
Yeah. So speaking of being prepared, we also have this website, mogul.sg.
Oh, yeah. They
have this whole guide on the HDB resale process.
Yeah.
And they're really big on being organized, knowing your stuff, like the legal stuff.
Yeah.
Potential pitfalls.
That's so important.
They even have an FAQ section, which is really helpful.
Oh, yeah. I've used that.
Like common questions, like CPF for the down payment, the OTP.
Yeah. It's super helpful.
Yeah. Sounds like a really valuable resource for
for sure.
anyone going into the resale market.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
Yes.
Especially when you're making a decision this big.
Okay. So before we wrap up, let's bring it back to the listener. Someone's thinking about buying a resale HDB. What are the key takeaways here?
Okay, so number one, do your research.
Yeah.
Really understand.
Don't just jump in.
No.
Right.
All those financing options,
yep.
HDB loan, bank loan, what are the pros? What are the cons? How does it fit with your own personal finances, your risk appetite?
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Ask questions.
Right.
Talk to professionals.
Yeah. It's like a puzzle.
It is.
Right. You got to figure out.
You got to figure out how all the pieces fit together.
All those pieces.
Yeah. Number two.
Number two.
Plan your finances.
Yes.
Meticulously.
Know
your budget.
Yeah.
What are all the costs involved?
Yeah.
Look into the grants. Make sure you can actually afford it.
Yeah.
And choose a plan that works for your long-term goals.
Right. Don't let the excitement of finding a place cloud your judgment.
Hey, don't get swept away
about the finances.
Right. Yeah. And then finally, don't be afraid to lean on your support system.
Oh, yeah.
Your family, your friends, real estate agents, financial advisors, they can all give you guidance and support.
Because it's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot to deal with.
Especially in a market like Singapore's.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah. Having people.
You need people in your corner.
To
help you celebrate the milestones.
Exactly.
And navigate the complexity.
Yeah. Okay. I think we covered a lot of ground here.
We did.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Buying a resale HDB.
Yeah.
It's a huge decision. It's a big financial commitment.
It is.
But it's also, an emotional one.
It is, yeah.
But with careful planning, doing your research, getting the right support.
Yep.
It's achievable.
It is. It's definitely achievable.
Yeah. And one more thing I would add, if I may.
Please.
Think about interest rates.
Oh, yeah.
They're going up.
They are, yeah.
So you need to think about how that's going to affect your monthly payments down the road.
Yeah, it's easy to get like caught up in the excitement.
Oh, yeah.
Finding a place. And,
absolutely.
But yeah, you got to think long-term.
Long-term.
About those payments.
Yeah. You know what's a really good tool for that?
What?
Those affordability calculators on the HDB website.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen those?
Yeah, I've played around with them.
They're so helpful.
They are.
You can kind of see like different scenarios.
Yeah.
Compare HDB loans, bank loans. Really get a good sense of what you can afford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as like a, like a crystal ball almost.
It is. It is.
For your finances.
Helps you avoid those pitfalls.
Okay. So to wrap things up.
Okay.
Dreaming of that resale HDB.
Yeah.
Do your research.
Absolutely.
Plan your finances.
Carefully.
Don't be afraid to get some help.
Ask for help.
It's a journey.
It is a journey.
But it's a good one.
But it can be a rewarding one.
It can be. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for our deep dive into resale HDB financing.
Hope this was helpful.
We hope you found it helpful.
Until then.
Happy house hunting.